How do we run the
Space bar.
space bar? This young one. I'm not gonna read to you. Our committee reports directly to the Programs and Services Committee. We as a committee are strictly advisory. We make no decisions about anything, okay? We're advisory. We tell them this is what you should do. They either accept that or reject it. If the Program and Services Committee accept our recommendations, they have two options. They can accept it and implement it, or they can refer it to the full board. Now, the Program and Services Committee is made up of members of the board, but it's not the whole board. So that's the legal aspects of things about what we do and the effect it can have as a result of our recommendations. Okay? I have a few notes to try to keep me on track. I got another slide or two. That top function is a primary one. And of course we have to have input from the field. I represent the West Gulf Division, so I go to the DX clubs basically for input on issues that we're dealing with, okay? There's several big DX clubs within the West Gulf Division, a lot of them in Texas. And so I look for input from there and from the Oklahoma DX Association to make my input into the DX Advisory Committee. All right? This is a layout of who all is a member of the DX Advisory Committee. Those 15 folks, plus board liaison, a staff liaison, and an administrative liaison, okay? If you're a DXer, you know who Sharon Tartula is, because she's over the DX program at headquarters. She's good. I've known her a long time. And if it wasn't for her, it would be in a mess up there right now. Any questions on any of that? Okay. We are currently looking at what we call DXCC 2025. The last major review of the DXCC program was in 2000. So the board felt after 25 years we ought to look at it again, so we are. We're looking at the rules, regulations, what constitutes an entity, what doesn't. I'll use this term entity. Classically, it's always been countries. DXCC, you get 100 countries, you get DXCC. Technically, it's entities, because a lot of them that we count are not countries. The United Nations headquarters is not a country, yet it counts. Okay. Then there's the question of like Alaska and Hawaii. They count as entities, but they're not separate countries. Everybody got that? So we use the term entity. Actually, we use entity and country interchangeable because we can't break old habits. Our current issue that we're dealing with are ribs. Rig in a box. If you're not familiar with that, Tom had an excellent program at one of our club meetings on the ribs and how they operate. Everything's within a box. They take it off on the island or whatever. They put it there. hook the generator to it, fuel everything up, and book. They're not even on the island. That's rigging a box. There's a zillion questions come up about the legality of rigs. What do you think one might be?
They're not there.
Nobody there.
There's nobody there. There's nobody there.
The transmitter
No,
is.
no designated operator present at the equipment. Yeah.
No control operator at the equipment. No control operator. Anyone can operate your station as long as there's a control operator there, right? So they need a control operator. They've come out with this. They said, well, we're having everyone that operates through the satellite link and using that rib, we're having them all get licenses for that area. That doesn't help. Not if the control operator is offshore in a boat. What's wrong with a control operator being in a boat? He has to be land-based. It's right in the rules. The control operator for a station has to be land-based. So all of the ribs and operations so far have not been legal. Just technical issue, but they've not been legal. Now, is ARRL going to count them? I suspect, but they're not legal. And that is the kind of thing that we as the DX Advisory Committee come up with. We find issues like that. So we are recommending to the Program Services Committee that they change the control operator rules for remote operation. Now that's what it's under. Control operator for remote operation. It not necessarily has to be land-based. But then there's issues come up with that. How do these guys on the boat setting off the coast, how do they control that station? Well, they use a microwave link, 450 something, okay, and that's how they control the station, whether it's up, down, what mode, what have you. So the question comes up, what if they lose their link? Well, we're going to insist that first that they do have a link, if they're not land-based, that they do have a link, and that it has a fail-safe. If the link breaks, the station goes down. That's simple. Has to have a control operator that's actually in control, it has to. Any questions about that? Why do you think we're in, oh, go ahead, Dave.
Well, it's an FCC rule that requires a control operator, correct?
Yeah,
But the FCC purview is limited to the United States and
right.
territories.
Yeah, other
So
countries,
someplace out
exactly.
in the Pacific, that shouldn't apply.
Right, and so it would be each country's rules. You're exactly right. But that's not in our control. But we can set it up for at least those countries that do have that, and I'm sure other countries will adopt it if we take those actions.
Coy,
Yes.
before, what about if you put a rowboat and pull up above, say, the mean high tide line? And let your control operator sit there.
Too dangerous.
He's still on the island.
He's on the, in some places you would be,
Yeah,
yeah, they're not allowed to be on that.
they've had a standing rule for years. If you're in a boat, it doesn't count. Now the exception is like the submarine up at Muskogee, but those kind of displays.
Yeah.
But we've had, in the past, historically, we had problems with people in boats. And they finally just said no. And because the thing with people in boats is first they come up and they at a dock and they're tied off. And then they say, well, why go to that trouble? We'll just sit out here and operate. And it's just human nature.
So you've heard it all.
So, no boats. Yes, sir.
One of the DXpeditions, and this is, again, I don't know if it's legal or not, they used ducks, vehicles that were both aquatic and had wheels on them,
Yeah.
and they drove them up onto the beach. I don't remember which entity it was, but it was like early fall last year, and they showed videos of these ducks coming. They were originally hauled in from the ship, so the ship unloaded them, the ducks came in, they parked on shore, but the operators, like Coy said, the operators went back to the boats, and the ribs were in the ducks or set next to the ducks.
Yeah. See, it's the same issue.
Yeah.
Control operator. Hal?
As far as I can see, with the ARRL being an American entity, they're just following the rules of the country they are set up in. I
No,
mean,
no. Dave?
Well, you know, how is this much different than what we currently have with the remote contest operating stations? Which are currently allowed
Right.
in terms of legality. There's not a control operator necessarily here at that point.
Well, yeah, there is. If you're using a remote station, there has to be a control operator at the remote station. That's the way, that's what
I'm
the
willing
rules
to bet
are.
a lot of these computer connected systems don't have a operator at them all the time when they're in use.
Well, that's for the policemen to worry about.
Gonna say, seems to me it's pretty unenforceable, you know, you just don't.
Yes, and that's the issue. But I actually oppose the whole idea of ribs because it's just not ham radio to me. It's more, it's satellites and UHF and UHF links and all kinds of stuff. It's just not. I'm old school. I'm one of the guys sitting there operating the station. That cat's out of the bag a long time ago. But what we have here is an issue where we have environmental impacts, and a rib is minimal environmental impact. We've had DXpeditions in the past that go in and just wreck a place and go off and leave their garbage. Hey, after they've operated 24 hours a day for 2 or 3 weeks, who wants to pick up the trash? I understand. But that's been the issue, and that's the reason that we've had problems with getting in some of these rare places because of the fish and wildlife people. They really oppose ham radio operators because of some of our bad behavior in the past. And that's the reason I favor it. Favor approving this. I finally agreed with the rest of the committee. Yeah.
Does
Look,
it have to be an all or nothing? Can there be a separate category?
we discussed that and dismissed it.
There. Okay.
We've got too many categories as it is,
Oh, okay.
and there's other issues. I'm going to get into this. Deleted countries, or countries that are not active that should be deleted. Okay. Example, North Korea. How long has it been since anyone's been active in North Korea?
That live to tell about it.
Yeah, right. Jim and I both worked North Korea.
I think it was 2002, wasn't
Yeah, 2002, 23 years ago. If you're trying to get, where's my pen? Top of the honor roll, Where is it? Here. Top of the honor roll, you have to work North Korea, along with all of the other entities. If you don't work North Korea, you can't make top of the honor roll. So there's a lot of guys sitting around saying, gee, why do I have to wait for something to happen in North Korea to get top of the honor roll? They're not even active. And it's a good question. It's a good question. Why should they even be counted? Well, basically because they're a country, an entity. It's a difficult issue. I have a proposal that I'm working on. It's kind of a compromise thing. What it is, I propose that if a country has not been activated in like 5 years, that we put it on inactive status. Well, boy, when I first proposed that, I got a firestorm out of the rest of the committee.
Just a troublemaker.
A troublemaker, yeah. And it says, what does that do to us, you know? Well, I've had to rethink it then. And so my proposal would be for the DXCC honor roll, just not count those inactive entities. We'll mark them inactive, but they still count, right? If they were activated, they'd be active anyhow. But they still count in your total entity list, but they don't account against you as far as making honor roll. In other words, if you're 2 countries away from making honor roll, and there's 2 inactive countries that you don't have, you can say, whoa, I make honor roll. Why is this an issue? Some guys are old like me and they won't live long enough to get top of the honor roll. Some won't live long enough to get on the honor roll. And so it's obvious that top of the honor roll is a bunch of old codgers. I'm 85. That's how I'm on top of the honor roll. I've been active DXing since I was 17, so I can be top of the honor roll. And that's what I tell these young guys. How will I ever make it? I say, you gotta get old. That's the key. You gotta live long enough. But it's really not right, and I think it would be a great incentive. We have to be very careful. Let me, Steve.
No, finish your sentence, then I'll go.
We have to be very careful in that any decision we make that's implemented, we've got to look at what it might impact. Unintended consequences can kill you. We came up with this when they were talking about the distance measurements for counting a country. Well, Jarvis, the guys that went to Jarvis recently wanted us to count it as a new country. It was counted as a separate country once before, and then it was deleted because of Palmyra. And it all has to do with distances, okay? You can count an entity as a separate entity if it's over 100 clicks from a parent entity because of Palmyra. Palmyra is considered a separate entity because it's over 100 clicks from Hawaii. It's all part of the United States. If we were to change that distance, every de-expeditioner in the world would be on Google Maps measuring.
Where to go?
You know, if we did it, try to get Jarvis included, okay? If we change that distance, then everybody'd be searching the maps. What else can we work in here? A new country, a new entity. Steve, did you?
Yeah, you said your thoughts you're working on are 5 years for
Huh.
active versus inactive.
Yeah.
One of the contacts I have is with Navassa Island. It's only done every 15 to 20, 25 years.
Right.
So that would fall off your list as an inactive contact.
Right. Yep. Let me see if I got anything else that's really important.
Small
here.
island?
Watch China. With the Biden administration, they have not challenged China on any of the things they're doing. They're taking over the South China Sea. Watch what's happening there, because that's the Spratlys, that's Scarborough Reef, it's all kinds of things. They've already taken some of Vietnam's islands, okay, that are in the South China Sea. They're after the Philippines now. They're pushing the Philippines to the breaking point. The United States has not lived up to the agreement that we have with the Philippines in keeping China out of their territory. Okay? I don't know what Trump's gonna do. Yeah, nobody knows what he's gonna do.
Trump doesn't know what he's gonna
The
do.
thing is, watch South China Sea. It may delete some countries, may add some. I don't know. Any other questions before I depart?
Thank you, sir.
Mac?
Just as a matter of point, our repeaters are remotely operated, and I don't know of any of them that have a control operator sitting at the repeater site.
You're right. But that's a different case.
Well, yes and no.
Rich?
How many DX contacts have you had? I mean, countries and all that, or entities.
Entities? What is the total right now?
340.
Yeah, 340 active.
340 that are active.
And your personal self, how many?
Oh, 367?
I'd say that's a good number.
Anything else? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.